Bill, my husband, was born in Newport, Arkansas in 1952. His early years were spent in the swamps, forests, thickets, and deserts of Louisiana and Texas, where he was often free to roam unsupervised, which is dangerous for him. After his family moved to Maryland, he spent his free time roaming the National Gallery of Art when not protesting the Vietnam War. Although it has become a cliche, Woodstock in August 1969 was a defining moment in his life. Bill was classified as a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War and was inducted out of college in 1972. He had to do a minimum of 2 years of alternate service. His alternate service continued until the war ended in April 1975. Please welcome Bill Reed.
Send me a timer, that'd be great. Yeah, let's see if that works. Okay. I hate daylight savings time. I just have to say that. You know, I didn't get any sleep last night, and I think there was a song titled that as well. I didn't get any sleep. But anyway, yeah, you know, I was just talking to Bob, and I think I should have retitled this as Dumb Luck. Because that's really, you know, I mean, for the people my age and 10 years older, so from people from 72 to 82 years of age today, the fact that we're here is dumb luck. So anyway, this is sort of a cautionary tale that kind of will show what will happen to you if you don't think about anything ahead of time. Okay, so I read a lot of these facts already, but the one thing I wanted to mention was that I didn't have it on here, but the 58,220 Americans that died, that comes from the Vietnam War Memorial. It may not sound like a lot of people, but when you look at that wall, that's impressive. And the thing I also didn't mention, that there's 8 women on that wall. Now, a lot of people might not know that. So, well, okay, so here we go. Okay, so if we go, you know, I was a Boy Scout in 1967. War had been raging on, at least American involvement in their first battle was fought 2 years prior. So, but I was pretty innocent. I really didn't know much about the war. I didn't, you know, I think I saw a photograph of someone burning themselves. It was a Buddhist monk who set himself on fire. That was, I think, like several years prior. But, you know, for the most part, Vietnam War, I was still a Boy Scout. I think it was the last photo with me, shorter than my dad. This Boy Scout troop was sponsored by the Methodist Church, which I was a member of at that time, but that's going to be short-lived. At the age, 1968, I was the age 15 going on 16, because I turned 16 in December, so mostly 15 that year. I remember watching the Tet Offensive on TV. It was almost a whole year, and you could just, every time you turn on the nightly news, and my parents loved to do that, they turned on the nightly news, and there was a war there, and it wasn't, you know, any censorship. It was the war. I mean, you were watching what was happening. A lot of times you were seeing things they didn't want you to see. But that was I consider this year my year of awakening, because I became aware of the war at that time. And March 10th of 1968, I was at a Jimi Hendrix concert and Soft Machine concert in Georgetown, Hilton, where I heard the Soft Machine play live the We Did It Again Vietnam version. I don't know if you're familiar with Soft Machine. They're sort of a rare, I like odd music with odd time signatures, and and Soft Machine, this song in particular, it went on and on. We did it again. I mean, it's a song on the record, on the vinyl. They say that about I don't know, maybe 100 times, you know. So, but during this particular performance, they kept inserting, there's a war in Vietnam. We did it again, we did it again, there's a war in Vietnam. And so March 31st of 1968, I was again at another concert at the Daughters of American Revolution Constitution Hall in downtown DC, at a Who's concert when LBJ announced he would not run for office. That was a very big thing at the time. So let's go on to age, see if this works. I point over here. Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, so August 15th, 1969, I was at Woodstock. It really was a mind-blowing experience. It changed my life forever. Changed how I felt about people, how I saw people. Pretty much felt like all people were one, that we were all together. We all took care of each other. October 10th that year, and the Court of Crimson King was released by King Crimson, a very important day. Okay, and so October 15th, there was the moratorium to end the Vietnam War. I lived 20 miles from Washington, D.C. So I used to go down and participate in all the demonstrations against the war that were held in D.C. So one on October 15th, a very big one in November of 15th, and that was basically the one in November was about My Lai. My Lai had occurred the year before. If you're not familiar with My Lai, it was a massacre. Had occurred a year before, but they released it in 1969, the news about it. So this is what the protests looked like, and I'm out there somewhere, but I hope I can find me. It was very much a part of my learning process was the demonstration. I go to demonstrations, you talk to people. You find out what was going on. You understand what other people were doing. You'd talk to both people who had served in the war, were serving in the war, and who did not want to serve in the war. Okay, so also at home, Mom and Dad were Southern Democrats. I mean, they were the old-fashioned Southern Democrats. If you might remember that, the protesters were protesting the Democratic Convention. It's because the Democrats were hawks at that time. I mean, it's just the way it was. And my parents, I remember I came home from an anti-war protest. Mom said, "They should have dropped a bomb on everybody there." I said, "Mom, I was there." So Mom in her wisdom said, "They should drop a bomb on everybody but you." And I said, "But Mom, Bim and Buster was there." They should have. You didn't even see how that conversation went. But that was my understanding of where my parents were going to go with this, And at age 70, I mean, not 1970, I am 72 now, but in 1970, I was 17, going on 18, and 18 is when you have to register for the DAC. So in May, there was another second album by King Crimson, but May 9th was the Kent State Cambodia incursion protest, a week after the Kent State shootings. This was rather a quickly held protest. And the funny thing about this, and I won't go too far into it, but when we got there, it wasn't well organized. I wound up with my friend Buster and Bim holding the banner out in front of the marching group. And at one time, we decided to go off route. I think someone told us to go off route. They wanted to go to the FBI building, so we went to the FBI building. Then someone else said, let's go over to the Department of Commerce. Well, when we got to the Department of Commerce, the police cornered us, tried to divide us up into groups, and it got nasty. It got very nasty. That was the time when, running down later on from the Washington Monument, I saw a cop run over the back of the leg of the guy in front of me. And he was headed right to Bim, and so I went and dove at the motorcycle and the cop. I don't think, I bounced off of him, I think. I don't remember much. All I know is I brushed up. Bim was still running. I got off the ground. We ran to the National Smithsonian Institute, the most modern one at that time, technology one. And it was amazing. The guards at the door opened the doors and let us in, and closed the door and wouldn't let the police in. I didn't know why they did that, you know. But these are things that are forming my opinions at this time. I'm seeing how people are being treated. I'm seeing, well, anyway. There are also the Supreme Court, and that's why I call this a cautionary tale, because the Supreme Court can change how the game is played, both ways. And at this time, June 15th, there was Welch versus the United States. All of a sudden, a conscientious objector could be based on the grounds, moral grounds. They didn't have to be part of an organized religion. This is the first time that this has occurred since the draft has started. And it's because of a Supreme Court decision. Okay. Let's see. So the December 8th, 1970, I was 18. I registered for the draft. I decided, okay, I'm doing this. I'll read the form. The form had a front and back, all sorts of boxes to check. I saw one that said Conscientious Objector. I read the little description, which is up there on the screen behind me, and it said moral or religious grounds. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I don't believe in war, you know. And so I checked that box, and I thought I was done. That was it. Oh, good. Now I'm a Conscientious Objector. Well, no, that's not how it works. Also that year, the third album from King Crimson was released. But hey, you know, what else? Let's see. So, let's see. Okay, so 1971. This was a long year. But in the beginning of the year, March 8th, there was another Supreme Court case. And this one impacted me in the sense that it said that you had to be against all wars to be a conscientious objector. You couldn't just be against Vietnam War. So all the protesting I did against Vietnam War, I can't use that as an argument for being against war. I had to be against all wars if I'm going to be a conscientious objector, which I already said I was. Okay. So April, there was another demonstration downtown. May 3rd, there was another demonstration downtown. There was a mass arrest at that one. Okay, I didn't get arrested. Okay, so in June, I graduated from high school. Okay, so would you trust this guy? I don't know. Anyway, you know, this picture was taken at the beginning of my senior year. But anyway, you know, you can kind of see by this time I pretty much was becoming what most people refer to as a hippie. I'm living on basically an altered state, I think is the way some people word it. And since Woodstock, basically. So 1971 continues August. So August 5th, the lottery. So there was 2 lotteries that year. The one on August 5th was for my age group, 1952. When it was determined I would likely be called for service in 1972, because my birthday date was signed 65, and they took to 95 that year, 1972. They took up to 1995. Okay, so interestingly enough, I have a Texas connection here. Okay, so I was going to go get college deferment, I thought. Well, they ended college deferment. And I've always wondered about this. I found out the reason that most of the people my age got college deferment is because they started school not in Texas. Texas made, since I was born in December, and I was born after the beginning of the school year, I had to start a year later. So most of the people my age started college a year earlier and got college deferment. The year I go to register for college, no way. We've gotten rid of college deferment. That's the other thing. Rules are always changing. I mean, there's a lot of dumb luck here, you know, and there's a lot of things happening to you that you really don't know about until they're happening, you know. So I got a notice, I don't know when really, it was sometime that year, asking me to write an essay. and also get personal statements by respected individuals of the community and your parents and other people like that, okay? So I started that process. Let's see. Okay, my written statement. So this is a time before internet, you know, so basically all the researching I was doing was talking to other people at demonstrations. I went to one college to talk to some counselor there, but most people who were in the peace movements didn't think I had a chance because I wasn't, at this time, a member of an organized religion anymore. And the reason that was first I asked my parents if they would support me. No, Dad fought in the Korean War. I respect that. So he wasn't really sure I was a pacifist, or should be a pacifist. Mom, well, that's a whole different story. But anyway, I went to my minister. You know, like I showed earlier, I was a Boy Scout, been a member of the Methodist Youth Fellowship for a long time. Went to my minister, and he said, well, you know, I think there definitely has been Methodists that are pacifists, but I don't think you're one. So I walked out of the Methodist church, never went back until my baby sister second wedding. I was in a Methodist church. I broke down and went to that. I almost didn't go back to that, but I did. So I had to write something. And, you know, what can I say? I wrote something I call 60 pages. It was an essay. Who knows what the handwriting size was? Who knew if it was in crayon? I don't know how it was done. But I wrote this paper, and it didn't have one complete sentence in it. You know, probably a lot of thoughts, but, you know, mostly that's how my brain works. I have a lot of thoughts and no complete sentences unless I force myself nowadays. It was shortly after that I had to learn how to, never mind, we'll go into that. So the written statement, and I submitted it. Okay, and here's my influences, because I did have influences. Henry David Thoreau, amazing writer. Mahatma Gandhi, amazing person. Martin Luther King, the same thing, amazing people. These people were there. These people were there to influence me. Their writings were there to influence me. And I used those in the writing of my paper. And basically at the time, I believed a lot of things, you know. I believed in making love, not war, you know. I believed in American ideals of freedom, equality, and justice, and I believed because of that, my CO would be recognized. If I was sincere in my beliefs, I believed the country would support me. I believed in doing no harm. I believed that the war is unhealthy for all living things, especially children. I always liked that phrase. I believed to wear a military uniform is to be part of the war machine. You know, there was some pacifists who were non-combatants and they wore the uniform, but I never thought I would feel comfortable doing so. I believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all living things, not just humans. I believed all weapons of war to be abhorrent. I believed in civil disobedience. I don't need to read all these. I had believed in a lot of things at that time. Oh, my time's about up. Okay, let's run through this then. Oh gosh, okay. So in October I was refused. They read the thing and refused. In November I was granted a hearing. And so what's about the hearing? Let me just tell you about the hearing. I walk into a room by myself. My sister drove me to the office at the local board, and it was the district board, draft board. And I walk in, and there's this side of the table is all military uniforms. This side of the table is all clergy in suits. There's some people milling around the back. They come up to me before I sit down, because there's a chair in the front for me. Say, can we have some people come in from our headquarters, national headquarters? I said, yes, if I can have my sister come in. And they said, go outside, we'll talk about it. And they come and get me, and they said, your sister can come in. That's good, because I don't remember after that. I really don't remember much of what went on. asked questions. Maybe it lasted 4 to 6 hours. Some questions just didn't have answers, you know. But at the end of the hearing, and this was the nice thing, at the end of the hearing, my sister was looking at me with big eyes at the door. She's looking at me with these big eyes, and I said, well, what's going on? And she goes, I think you got it. And I said, oh, and she's looking at me, and I didn't know you were intelligent. So there you go. So that's pretty good news, you know. You know, and so I was pretty happy. Here's spring break, March 1972, Daytona Beach, relaxing, still in college. Haven't been inducted yet, but that was a change in 1972. How much time do we have left? Okay, I don't have any. So 1972. Okay, if you say so. I mean, okay. 1972. Let's see. Can you hold that for a second? Thank you. Yeah. 1971. Oh, that's going backwards. All right. Well, I can't read that. So what does it say here? Oh, yeah. 49,514 men were inducted, and I would be one of them in 1972. The first induction notice I got was wrong. They said, welcome to the Army, your physical is, and I went, what the? And so I called them. This is the first time, you know, everything's been done before by mail, by snail mail, you know, the old stuff. There was no email at that time. It was all done by mail, but this was the first time I picked up a phone and called them. I said, hey, I'm a CO. They said, oh, we'll get back to you. Well, then I got the second, in the May, I got the second induction that was right. And they gave me a list. And they said, look, you've been drafted as a CO. No, they didn't give me a list yet. They said, you've been drafted as CO. You now have 3 months to find a job. It has to be beneficial to health, welfare, or defense of the nation. Well, basically, that was a waste of time for many reasons. But it was good in the sense that it let me finish my second semester of college. So I got out, you know, and then September, well, there's another March. And then in September, I got the list because they said, hey, you know, you're taking 3 months, forget it. We're going to give you a list. So the first job I went to on that list was the state of Maryland, Water Resources Administration, Groundwater Division, and the National Resources Department. And I asked them, I said, hey, will I be working outside? And they said, yes. I said, I'd take it. So I was at draft board and I took it. Okay, so my alternative service finally starts towards the end of October of 1972. This all started so many years ago now. At least that's how it seemed for me. And in October, I went out to work in the field. It was pretty nice. I was lucky because I could live at home, because COs got paid the private salary without commissary. So it's pretty, not a great salary. Also, Clark's tongue and aspect, stylus, and Bible black and red were all during that time period. The Vietnam War ended in April 1975. I returned to college. I went to college to get a degree in hydrology, so there was some benefit of all this. I got an interest in groundwater, and I went back to study groundwater. And my career became surface water, but that's okay. I was 22, and this was another Supreme Court case. I didn't cite it here, but they decided that COs do not deserve the GI Bill. So I had to get a student loan, big deal. But I wasn't allowed the GI Bill. During this time period while I was still searching for religion, I became a philosophical Taoist. I now consider myself a hyphenated UU. I'm a Taoist UU. And there's with me driving from Maryland to Arizona, where I went to college, in the summer of 1975. I made it. So there you have it. Hope I wasn't too long, sorry. Yeah.